Climate change is no longer a distant threat, it is a growing crisis that is unfolding in real time, and its silent killers are already wreaking havoc on our planet. Extreme weather events, rising sea levels, and the rapid loss of biodiversity are all warning signs of a much more devastating future that we may not be able to reverse. The frequency and intensity of hurricanes, floods, wildfires, and heat waves have increased dramatically in recent years, signaling a dangerous trend. These events, while alarming, are just the surface manifestations of a much larger problem that is often invisible to the eye, yet incredibly destructive. They are not just natural disasters, they are symptoms of a rapidly changing climate that threatens our very way of life. As global temperatures continue to rise, one of the most insidious consequences of climate change is the gradual but relentless rise in sea levels. Coastal cities, once thriving centers of life and commerce, are now facing the real possibility of being submerged underwater. This isn't a future concern, it's already happening. Entire communities are being displaced, and countries with low-lying islands are at risk of disappearing altogether. The rising seas are not just erasing our shores, they are fueling instability, sparking migration crises, and creating geopolitical tensions. In places where communities have called home for generations, the battle against encroaching waters has become a fight for survival. Meanwhile, the planet's ecosystems are unraveling at an unprecedented rate. Species that were once abundant are disappearing, and their loss is far more than just a tragic footnote in the history of our natural world. Biodiversity is the foundation of life on Earth, and as more species vanish, the delicate web of life that supports our food systems, agriculture, and even our health begins to break down. The loss of these species is not something we can afford to ignore. It's an early warning that our ecosystems are becoming more fragile and less able to support human life. From pollinators like bees to larger mammals that help maintain ecological balance, the impact of these losses is felt by all of us. These silent killers are eroding the very systems that sustain us, and their consequences are far-reaching. At the same time, extreme heat and poor air quality have become invisible but deadly threats, silently claiming lives every day. Heat waves are now more frequent and intense, particularly in urban areas, where the urban heat island effect traps heat in cities, making them unbearable during summer months. The consequences are severe, with vulnerable populations such as the elderly, children, and those with pre-existing health conditions suffering the most. Respiratory illnesses and cardiovascular diseases are becoming more widespread, exacerbated by rising temperatures and the ever-increasing levels of pollution. The air we breathe has become another silent killer, especially in cities where smog and particulate matter contribute to millions of deaths annually. These health crises are often invisible, but they are silently eating away at the well-being of millions across the globe. But perhaps the most tragic aspect of climate change's silent killers is the devastating toll it takes on human lives. Extreme weather events, while capturing headlines, are destroying communities, livelihoods, and futures. The displacement caused by hurricanes, floods, and wildfires is forcing millions of people to leave their homes, often with nothing but the clothes on their backs. Families are being torn apart, and entire towns are being lost to nature's fury. The emotional and psychological toll of such disasters is profound and long-lasting. Yet, despite the obvious destruction, these events are just a glimpse of the far-reaching effects of climate change. The true damage is often harder to see in erosion of the foundations that support our societies, from food security to clean water and basic infrastructure. However, it's not all doom and gloom. There is still time to act, but it requires immediate, decisive action. We have the tools, the knowledge, and the resources to reverse the course of this crisis. Renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, conservation efforts, and bold climate policies are all part of the solution. We can still fight back against these silent killers, but we must do so now, before it's too late. We need to demand change from our governments, businesses, and from ourselves. The future of our planet, and our children's future, depends on the decisions we make today. The question is, will we act before it's too late? Will we take the necessary steps to confront the silent killers of climate change head-on, or will we allow them to dictate the future of our world? The time to act is now. Our planet, our ecosystems, and our very survival are at stake. The world is watching, and it's up to us to shape the future we want to see.